Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Talking Smack, where we talk superheroes, movies, animation, and comics. I'm your host, Josh Scar, and great news, everyone. We have found her. She was passed out on her floor because she was so excited about the thing we're going to be discussing today. Not the fact that she's on the episode, but the fact that she is finally getting her She-Hulk show slash movie. Beppo is back.
Yes. Oh my goodness, my goodness. I have been fainting like a southern belle ever since. I can't wait.
Well, other than being in a small fangirl coma, how have you been?
I've been hanging in there, man. I've been hanging in there. I'm getting real sick and tired of hearing crap about my She-Hulk, so I'm here to defend her with all of my love and heart and soul and glory.
Yeah, there's no way we could talk She-Hulk without having you on, so
Of
I
course.
appreciate you taking the time.
Be prepared for like a 2.5 hour long segment where I break down the history of Jennifer Walters.
Yeah, I mean, among other things, yeah, that is why we're here. We're here for the Beppo TED Talk on She-Hulk.
Yeah.
So with that, we do have a few other things to discuss this week. We're going to be talking about a little bit of Star Wars Celebration Anaheim with some news that came out, and I have a returning segment, Star Wars, when we come back. But first, we are going to hear from our friends Brendan and Matt at the Unchefed podcast. We'll be right back.
Hello, everyone. This is Brendan from the Unchefed podcast. Each week on Unchefed, we unpack a topic regarding the politics and history of our plates in the hope of becoming better eaters. That's Unchefed, available now on your preferred podcast network.
And we are back. So with the there's no real good transition into this. With the debut of the Obi-Wan series, there's been starting again. I'm gonna leave all this in because again, it's just so frustrating that we even have to talk about this shit.
I will let you go ahead on your own official Star Wars rant. Go for
yes,
it.
Star Wars begins now. So Moses Ingram has been getting a lot of grief from some really toxic members of the I mean, I'm not even going to say they're Star Wars fans, for toxic members of like nerd Gamergate corner of the bullshit. She has been getting death threats, racial slurs thrown at her because she's playing a character that is not meant to be liked and people don't like her. It's really strange that there's this weird disconnect. I've seen one thing come up where everyone's like, well, what about what with Gina Carano? Why did she get fired for doing this? She did not do the same thing. Gina Carano was spewing Nazi propaganda as Gina Carano, not in character. She was fine in her character. But as a person, Gina Carano is a piece of shit that did not deserve to have a job, especially in something like Star Wars. So anyone who's trying to compare Moses Ingram to Gina Carano can fuck right off. What's happening to her is harassment, and it's racially motivated with a lot of people as well. Yes, Gina Carano received death threats from people. Those people are not cool, but Gina Carano is a piece of shit human who did not deserve to have a job. But do not compare what's happening to Moses Ingram to what happened to Gina Carano. They are not the same. Moses Ingram just is getting all this vitriol for no reason other than the fact that she is reading a script and acting. Anyone who thinks that the character is abrasive, that is the point. You're not supposed to like her. So if you're getting upset by her performance, that's probably because she's a really good actor. Think about it that way. I'm not a fan of the character because again, she's abrasive and you're not meant to like her. So like, I'm not liking her. That's the point of acting. That's the point of storytelling. If you feel the need to attack an actor for playing a character, don't, is the main point, especially if you think you have the right to drop racial slurs at that person. You don't. Don't be a piece of shit. Don't be Gina Carano. Star Wars over.
I give you a clap, a golf clap. Probably doesn't catch on the mic, but There you go. Clap, clap. I don't have input just because I am not a Star Wars person, but well said. Very well said. It always cracks me up when people get angry at actors playing bad guys. I remember the actor who played Joffrey from Game of Thrones. People like legitimately hated him and were like sending him threats and like telling him he's a bad person. And the kid's actually amazingly kind. He's a super nice human being. But obviously, in a case like this, it is much more severe. But people are just shitty.
Yeah, fans. Again, I don't even know if I'd call them fans, but in lighter news, I'm going to try and rapid fire this because I know Star Wars is not your bag. So I'm going to go through some of the Star Wars celebration stuff real quick with some of my thoughts.
Go for it.
So we have the announcement of the Andor series, which has been confirmed to be 2 seasons, 12 episodes each, leading directly into Rogue One. This is giving me some The Mandalorian feels, because when The Mandalorian was announced, I was like, what's the point? Like, I don't care about this, but I really enjoy The Mandalorian, and they've told a really great story. But right now, my interest is minimal because, again, I know where the story ends, but I'm hoping it'll be good. We also got a trailer for Willow. I have no nostalgia for Willow. Beppo, I don't know if you ever saw Willow or if you have any feelings towards Willow.
I have none. It's a movie that I've barely even heard of before, but I wasn't raised on a ton of movies. So to be fair, I've missed out on a lot. So I have, again, no input.
Yeah, I have minimal input as well. I saw it a few times as a kid, but it never really latched for me. Like, I saw Warwick Davis, didn't know his significance to the Star Wars universe. Later realized Val Kilmer was in it. And then other than that, I have no idea of like what the story is. I know that the kid that plays Flash Thompson, Tony Revolori, is in it. And it's going to be hard for me to like him as a character because they've done such a good job of making him such a twat waffle in Spider-Man movies. With this little bit of news about the Skeleton Crew, when I tell you that this is going to be a coming of age story, what comes to mind when someone says it's a coming of age story?
Oh gosh, just in general?
Yeah, like when someone tells you this is a coming of age story, what kind of story beats or character tropes do you think of when you hear that description?
Well, first and foremost, usually an allegory for puberty in some way or another. Usually some sort of harsh reality hitting a young person that kind of causes them to grow up very fast or realize that, hey, the life isn't all sunshine, rainbows, and gumdrops. So, like, like for example, like Simba, like Mufasa dying, and Simba having to run off. That's almost like a the wham moment. And then of course him coming back and realizing that, hey, you actually have to act like a king. That's kind of his coming of age and everything. But that's usually kind of what I think of, like off the top of my head, without any prompting or further like really deep dive.
No, I think you nailed it. That's perfect. So the director of this, I believe it's going to be a series, is John Watts, who directed the new Spider-Man movies, which would you say those are coming of age stories about a young Spider-Man or a young Peter Parker?
Yeah, for me personally, I definitely would say they are, especially not only the most recent one, but kind of built up as a trilogy, because in each one he grows as a person, but from completely different experiences. And obviously with the third movie, it's a much harsher experience compared to like the first movie, where he kind of learns that, hey, he has limits, and he doesn't have to, he needs to not rely on tech and all this. Like, he can be a hero just by himself. But I would say, yeah, I think they did a fairly good job.
So when this is described as a coming of age story, you think young actor, you think someone up and coming, it's like kind of like what Star Wars does. Yeah, they get a bunch of unknowns.
Yes, I suppose.
I am trapping you, by the way.
Yes,
this is
you
a
are
trap.
trapping me. I know of a couple coming of age stories where it's almost like midlife crisis coming of age, but I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, so they hired that young up and comer Jude Law to lead this movie.
Ah, yes, an unknown.
So it's supposed to be a story about a space crew that gets lost in the Star Wars universe, and Jude Law is the captain, or I'm guessing some kind of main character, or maybe he's the wise old leader of the hero's journey trope or something. I don't know, but they're like, hey, it's a coming of age story starring Jude Law, so maybe they're going with the midlife crisis idea that you just described.
Right. What? No, actually, he's just like got the Benjamin Button thing, and he's actually a high schooler. It's totally fine. It makes sense. But yeah, no, I can see I would actually love to see a more adult coming of age story, because it can happen. A coming of age can happen at any time in your life. Heck, I know a lot of people who tend to have their second quote unquote coming of age usually in their early 30s, because that's kind of when you're out of your young adulthood, where everything is either college, you're hanging out with friends and not having too many responsibilities. Because usually once you become a parent or a homeowner, or you get that really big job, then you almost have this coming of age of maturity, and kind of realizing, oh, okay, this is how life starts to work. So I don't know. I won't poo poo it just yet. It'll be interesting to see how they handle it.
Again, well said. I don't think I could have put it better myself. I just really felt like shitting on the description and then being like, and 50-year-old Jude Law.
I think that's where like shock headlines come in handy. I think they're purposefully trying to mislead people and thinking that it's a really weird setup, when I guarantee it'll probably be not, and it'll actually be pretty straightforward, or endearing, or even thought provoking. But saying it's a coming of age story for a, how old is Jula? Like
He's closing in
50s?
on 50 if he's not already there.
Okay, yeah, a 50-year-old-ish man having a coming of age. Yeah, I can dig it. I can dig it. I won't be a jerk. I'll wait until I see more.
He was born in 72, so yeah, he's basically turning 50 this year.
There you go. Bam. Right on the money. I almost guessed it.
But yeah, John Watts is directing, so I assume it'll be at least good, if not really good or great even. Again, just the premise seems interesting enough, because again, like, it's set in the Star Wars universe, but there's probably not going to be any Jedi or Jedi subplot, so who knows?
Honestly, I'm fine with that, just because, at least from what I know of the Star Wars universe, is that the stuff that a lot of hardcore Star Wars fans like are the side things that don't have to do with Darth Vader and the Skywalkers and stuff, like a lot of the books and the comics and some of the animated shows. Open the universe to actually be a universe, not just a self-contained repeating story, because that's the fun part of building lore, is having the entire world fleshed out. So again, take this with a grain of salt, because I'm not a huge Star Wars person, but I'm welcoming it as far as just adding a new flavor to the Star Wars universe.
Speaking of Jedi, we did get the announcement for the next Star Wars game, which will be Star Wars Jedi Survivor, continuing the trials and tribulations of one Cal Kestis. I watched the trailer a couple of times to try and take a note or two, but I have no idea what the hell's going on. The ship is abandoned. Cal's the only one left, and he finds someone in a Bacta tank at the end, which, like, they look kind of like Sephiroth, and I have no idea what's happening. So, cool. Very excited. I'm actually going to be starting by the time this episode airs, hopefully I will have finally done the stream. I tried to do one today as we recorded, but scheduling conflicts with the household didn't allow it. So I'm hoping that maybe by Friday this week that we're recording, I'll have had at least one or two streams of the first game.
Exciting. Let me know if you need any help. I'm here for you.
Definitely. Next up, we have Star Wars Vision Season 2 officially announced, which, very cool. They're non-canon stories told by anime creators with Star Wars twists to them, essentially. I don't know if you checked out Visions at all. I know you are a bit of an anime fan.
Again, I am, but again, I'm a loser and I'm not into Star Wars, so I actually I didn't even know about the announcement, to be fair. But again, if it's a nice new flavor to add to the universe, I am all for it, hands down. I am the worst person to have on for the Star Wars segments. I'm so sorry. I'm here for She-Hulk.
I was just curious if you had seen Star Wars Visions, since they're non-canon things with, again, it's anime with a Star Wars twist. The next batch of news, no pun intended, is the Bad Batch, which, okay, fine, as long as we're still getting some like in-canon animation shows. Star Wars needs to kind of go back to those stories. I think the animation lends itself really well. I like Rebels a lot. One of the biggest issues I have with Obi-Wan right now is the fact that the Grand Inquisitor design is just bad. I don't really have any other words for it. Second to last news from Star Wars, they announced that Natasha Liu Bordizzo will be playing the role of Sabine Wren, speaking of Star Wars Rebels. This news was announced back in mid-November, but is finally confirmed by Lucasfilm. They also announced that the Astromech Chopper will be in the show, as well as other Rebels characters. So very excited for that because I love Ahsoka and I love Rebels. So with this being a live action continuation of Rebels, very, very excited to see where that goes. And then finally, Mandalorian Season 3 coming sometime in 2023, and we will finally see Mandalore in live action, which is very exciting. But to be excited and get two people talking about things that we're excited about, Beppo, let's get into our first trailer, which is going to be Thor: Love and Thunder.
We're saving the best.
More specifically, yes, more specifically, the second trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder, where we see Gorr.
Yes.
So I don't know if you know this, but Chris Hemsworth, the reason he's so jacked is because he had actually finished filming a Hulk Hogan biopic before doing Thor: Love and Thunder.
Nice. So he's extra ripped. I noticed that he was extra like manly bulky. And I'm sure
he's enormous.
And apparently the whole internet noticed as well from a single scene in said trailer. We know the one.
Are we referring to the back tattoo?
Maybe.
or just how ripped he is.
He's pretty ripped. Sorry, I'm blushing over here. I mean, as a general overall consensus, I suppose, is it looked good. Me can't wait. Me excited. So yeah.
I'm gonna edit that so bad.
Oh no! I always put my foot in my mouth. No, I'm really stoked. I was a pretty big fan of the Jane Foster Thor comic run. I thought it was just a really interesting and cool way to, I guess, handle the character. Should I go into talking about the comic, or you think we should kind of leave that out in case people are interested in reading it later on for like spoilers or something?
We can dive into it a little bit because one of the notes I have here is when Jane takes over as the mighty Thor, once Thor just becomes the unworthy, Jane kind of has her own story mainly based around Malekith and Dario Agger, the Minotaur. And I feel like Christian Bale is better suited for Dario Agger.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why they're doing Gorr, because Gorr was a much more like widely acknowledged villain in Jason Aaron's run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he stood out among the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was a great story, and it was the first story. It was the first story that Jason Aaron and Esad Ribic told.
Sure.
And it was fantastic. I think it spanned like 25 issues too. Like it was a long arc.
Right.
But like I think Christian Bale really could channel Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, which is a role he's done before. And the character also is like very cynical and snarky, so that really fits into what Taika Waititi likes to do with dark humor.
Yeah.
So I think Dario Agger, the Minotaur, would have been a better villain for what Taika Waititi likes to do with the story. But that is just me projecting. I don't know what this movie is going to be. The trailer, the tone for Gorr feels really good. The design is fine. Like, I don't care that he looks like Christian Bale. It looks like he is going to be corrupted.
Yeah. That's something I couldn't get over, is that like, and it's fine. It's so many actors and actresses have been in these movies and you just know who they are by looking at them. Jeff Goldblum being one of them.
Yeah.
But But for some reason, just seeing like it's Christian Bale cosplaying Kratos to me because that's what I see. And I know that when I actually see the movie, he is a really good actor and he gets so immersed in any role he does. So I know when I see it, I will completely throw all of this preconceptions out of my head. Well, I might still see cosplay Kratos, but but I know he'll do a good job. Taika Waititi hasn't failed me yet in the MCU and outside of the MCU with like his movies like Jojo Rabbit and
Hunt for the
oh,
Wilder
what is it?
People, What We Do in the
No, something in the
Shadows.
shadows. What we do in the shadows. Thank you. I was gonna say we live in the shadows. That's not right. Oh God. But yeah,
What We Do in the Shadows, also a very good TV show.
yes, yes, the TV show version is fantastic. Definitely agree there. But yeah, I'm very interested in seeing how they handle Jane in this because I guess small spoiler for anybody who wants to read the comic or hasn't gotten around to it yet. Um a big part of her character is the fact that she is actually dying from cancer and she is worthy of becoming Thor. However, every single time she transforms into Thor, it undoes all of the chemotherapy. It basically washes it out. So anytime she doesn't or that she's not transformed as Thor and she goes back to just being Jane, she's essentially getting worse and worse and worse health-wise. And if I remember correctly, she kind of just has this dilemma because it's like, well, why don't you just stay Thor all the time? And it's almost like this, well, then I'm losing my humanity kind of a thing. And again, I could be misremembering because it has been several years since I read the series, but um especially since they kind of make fun of the fact like, oh, I haven't seen you in like what 2 or 3 years. He's like, oh, it's been 8 years, 7 months, and 36 days actually. Or
Yeah.
so I'm curious to see if they kind of have more of a tragedy kind of that's been with her for the past several years, or if it's just gonna be like, hey guys, Natalie Portman's back and she's a girl Thor, look at her, isn't she cool?
She's got
We'll see.
muscles.
She got muscles.
But I do think that the Mighty Thor costume looks great. Natalie Portman looks
Yeah.
amazing. She's jacked too. And the only thing that I think bothers me is that they're just completely ignoring the mystery of who the Mighty Thor is.
Yeah,
Because that's part of it too. But I mean, that's more for the comics and the long form storytelling.
right. I kind of feel you there. Because obviously in the teaser, I know we're talking trailer, but in the teaser, obviously the very last shot or second to last shot is a revealing of female Thor, and for comic readers, you'd already know who it is. But honestly, with the full helmet on and everything like that, I personally couldn't tell that that was Natalie Portman, because I thought they did a good job of hiding her face. And kind of including it in the trailer made it feel like that the only suspense was only for the teaser to the trailer, not necessarily from the trailer to the movie,
Yeah,
like
it's for general audiences to be like, oh, who is that? What's going on there? And
Mhm.
then with the second trailer, they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So but yeah, I mean, I don't know, I'm super stoked for it. Okay, now please forgive me and feel free not to answer this because I have yet to see Multiverse of Madness. I am behind because I have not been able to leave my house. So unfortunately, I have to wait till Disney Plus or it's rentable, online or something. But so in the trailer, it shows him reaching for Mjolnir, and it's kind of cracked and it has these purple like glowing cracks in them. But again, correct me if I'm wrong, and if it has to do with Multiverse of Madness, do not tell me because I haven't seen it yet. But wasn't the Thor's hammer functional in Endgame? Like I don't remember it being broken.
They took Mjolnir from the different universe,
Yes. Okay, that's right.
and then
Thank
Steve brought
you.
it back later.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you. I completely forgot about that because I was like, come on. I remember seeing the hammer fully functional. What's going on here? But no, you are correct. So actually, that's pretty interesting then, the fact that the last time we did see it would be when Hela shattered it. Then.
Yeah, I think that's the mystery they're going for, is like, how is Mjolnir reformed? What's so special
Right.
about Jane that she is able to reassemble it?
Mhm.
Which, to that point, I do think one of the coolest shots in the trailer is, I think they're on Olympus, where Jane eventually steps in to fight the Olympian guards, and
Mhm.
she like disperses the fragments of Mjolnir to go like after like 7 different guys.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
looked like a move out of like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, but it was just like the
Right.
fragments of Mjolnir and came back. Very cool idea.
I agree. Yeah. So I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited. I love the Marvel movies even if I'm a little behind on them. I blame pandemic extending into year 2 for me personally because I still just the last movie I saw in theaters was the last Spider-Man movie, which I could not go to, you know? Like that was my entire build up from tiny little Beppo enjoying comic books to still kind of tiny Beppo watching her first Spider-Man Raimi film, and to adult Beppo who has completely lost her sanity with comics and games and love for Spider-Man. So, call me a Marvel fangirl if you will, but I'm excited. I'm just a fan of the direction that Taika Waititi has taken this entire uh Thor franchise into, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, same. I like Himbo Thor. He's a lot of fun. I will extend the invite. I think Lewis, Erica, and I have discovered a loophole in the crowded theater idea where um, advanced screenings now happen at like 3 p.m.
Oh.
So like everyone's still at work. So we're like, okay, well let's take a couple weeks to see how pre-sale tickets go. Okay, there's only like 6 people in the theater. Let's snag our seats and go.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be awesome.
So just put in that PTO request early and join us
Yes.
on July 7th.
Oh goodness. Okay. I will see what I can do. See, I was getting worried. Well, I was getting worried there for a second because you're like, I found a loophole. I'm like, Josh, you might want to edit that out for legal reasons. Be careful.
Pirate Bay doesn't exist in the Talking
Yeah.
Smack world. We pay for our
No.
movie theater tickets, wink wink.
We do. We do. Trust me, we do. I'd have a lot more money in my pocket if I didn't see every Marvel movie.
I have the ticket stubs to prove it on my AMC account.
Yes.
So that's kind of all I really have for Thor. There's not much we can really project on because again, they're mostly showing us action beats. They're not showing us story beats.
Yeah.
I am excited for that. Although there is one thing that I caught in the first teaser trailer. I don't know if you saw it, but if you remember Meek from uh, Ragnarok, Korg's
Yeah.
little buddy, like a
Oh.
weird maggot thing with scissor hands. Um, in the first teaser trailer, he can be seen in the background in a dress. And so now I'm
Aw.
wondering if like maybe Meek is identifying as a woman, which is kind of cool. But again, we got to wait for the movie to come out to discern that.
Yeah. Meek could just really like being pretty.
There's nothing
I
wrong with that.
love it. Yes, I love it. Meek is beautiful no matter what. Hashtag I support Meek. Please, when you post this episode after editing, just with no context, put in hashtag I support Meek, please.
Making that note now.
Yes. Sweet. No
Hashtag
context.
I support Meek. I think it's MEIK. We'll do Talking Smack. Supports, not supper. God, autocorrect.
Oh, you gotta love that. Oh my god.
So anyway, there is also on August 17th something. What was it again? It's
Oh
um
gosh. What could it be?
oh, and also side just quick thing. I know we've done a couple tangents here already now. We're not covering any of the Ms. Marvel trailers because as of the day this episode drops, Ms. Marvel will be starting and we will be watching with bated breath, waiting for
Yes.
this series to unfold, because hooray, Ms. Marvel.
Yes, that's another one I'm a big fan of. And kind of like everyone else, I'm a little confused what they're doing with their powers exactly. But again, most of the changes Marvel has made, for the most part, I usually support because it works for the MCU, rather than it being a direct comic book copy. They very much respect the source material, but they also uh reference it rather than copy and paste usually. So again, I'm going in with decent expectations. I'm not low, I'm not high. I'm excited to see where Miss Marvel goes. But that's not why we're here talking. We're talking about the most amazing comic book character to have ever existed in the history of the universe. Yee, I'm so
Captain
excited.
America?
Fuck no. Josh, I have been waiting for this moment, no exaggeration, for 30 years, but we finally have an official trailer for my She-Hulk TV show, and I couldn't be more excited, and I am so ready to say what I need to say. I have so much in my mind, I don't know where to start. So how about you take the reins and I'll interject for like 30-minute tangents in between.
Sounds great. Hopefully we can keep that 30-minute tangent in about 20-ish minutes. I'd like to keep the episode under an hour if possible, but I'm not gonna shortchange you either.
No, you misunderstand. It's every single thing you say, I'm going to
Plus 30
counteract
minutes.
with a 30-minute tangent. So if you have 5
Gotcha.
points towards it, then this is going to be a long ass podcast.
Well, shit. Did you already snoop my notes? Because I think I have exactly 5 notes.
Oh, look at me. No, go ahead. You say yours and I will say mine.
So I kind of just went through the trailer and kind of took notes as we went by. So we have the opening monologue from Bruce, and then we get I'm sorry, it's Jen that's talking. She's like, I'm a lawyer. I'm this, I'm that. And then we get her boss talking about how they're going to make her the head of the superhero division, which I feel like that's probably one of the few story beats we're getting. I feel like that's kind of a fake out or a misdirect. Like either she's gunning for that, and he's going to be like, "Hey, we're going to make you the head of the security." No, actually, we're not, and it's going to kind of show how downtrodden she is because she's never getting what she wants,
Right.
or she's just getting walked over. Because I think that could be the other thing. It might be is like a pass the buck kind of promotion where she is genuinely getting this role, but it's because the boss doesn't want to deal with the press and the paperwork that comes with it. So she's getting the
Yeah.
promotion essentially by proxy.
So, I'm also curious about that as well. I don't know if it's going to be like, hey, you're in charge of the superhero division because your cousin is the Hulk, so we're just gonna dump this on you. And it's either gonna be, oh, because you're the newbie or something like that. In the comic books, specifically the Dan Slott run of 04 to like 05-ish, she was hired on to one of the most prestigious law firms, but in that they were like, hey, we want Jennifer Walters to represent us. And she's like, well, hell yeah, I can do that. And they're like, no, we don't want She-Hulk. We want Jennifer Walters. And it's an incredible journey of her learning to kind of reaccept her original kind of shy and mousy self. And I'm so excited because I absolutely love the portrayal of Jen in this entire trailer from the little bits and pieces we get, because you can kind of see that she's very anxious. She's already overwhelmed. There's a line in the trailer. She's like, I just want to be a normal, anonymous lawyer. And then, of course, when she's She-Hulk, she's like, they're like, damn girl, nice ass. And she's living it up. She's loving this glow up, this giant green glow up. So I have many things to compliment about in regards to references here and there. So please continue with your half.
So that's actually kind of what I was talking. I was going to get to in a little bit here. Is I do like that it feels like a story, kind of a coming of age story, where Jen's kind of discovering who she is and becoming comfortable in her own skin, which again could kind of be an allegory for maybe a transgender person or a gay person or even like anyone who's identifies as LGBTQ. Like It could be any of those things where you're kind of discovering who you are and learning to
Uh,
accept that, and then just like you said, the glow up that comes with that realization
mhm.
and that acceptance.
And of course that I mean that's the wonderful thing about stories is that you can tell one story and 8 people reflect on it in different ways. And for me, at least as a child growing up, I always saw Jen as the most confident, beautiful woman that I always wanted to be. And so for me personally, when I see Jen, just this tiny kind of mousy shy person, while I am very outgoing, I think most women can at one point in their life agree that they've always felt insecure, be it with looks or personality. Like again, if you're really shy and other people are super outgoing, and then I kind of see it as like, hey, she finally becomes the most perfect version of herself. But there comes a balance with that because you can't just throw away your real self deep down. You kind of have to bring the two together. So for me personally, while I am not, for example, transgender or a gay or lesbian, that's my personal connection to it. But yes, that is not to invalidate any other person's experiences and kind of relating to the story that will probably end up happening.
And then a couple of in-universe things that pop out with me is I am curious what the superhero law division is referring to. Like, are they dissolving the Accords, or is there something happening with the Accords finally that we're going to see with this legal drama that's also dressed up as a
Mhm.
superhero show? Um, and then also we see Bruce as Smart Hulk, even though he has no arm cast. But the last time we saw him, he was Bruce Banner in Shang-Chi in the post credits or the end of the movie there. And he still had his iron gauntlet arm sling going on. So
Mhm.
like any thoughts or speculation as to like where this happens in the MCU timeline?
Not necessarily that, but even though the damage was very severe on his arm with the snap, the Hulk himself has an incredible healing property. So, continuity wise, it might be like, well, how did that's kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like a MacGuffin. It's like, oh yeah, well, I was gonna say, Hulk, what happened to your arm? Didn't it get burned up? Oh well, I got better. Like it's just Monty Python. So as far as that, if they don't address it, I just chalk it up to because the Hulk has an incredible healing factor. And they might bring it up because maybe there's like an offhand comment where Jen gets injured and she's like, oh God, and maybe panicking or worried. He's like, no, don't worry about it. That's one of the perks. It's one of the perks of going green. You got great healing there, kid. So it could be, come off as like a comedic thing like that, or who knows, it could be completely ignored. So again, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean the rest of my stuff here is just kind of parrying from like the bad CGI. I really clung to. There were a couple of villains that we saw. We saw Frogman, which again, really briefly, is it Titania or Titane?
Titania, yeah. No, Titania is, I believe, how it's pronounced. I've never said it out loud. I've always read it in a comic book. So, yeah, that's usually Jen's most common reoccurring villain, at least in her solo comics. And I think usually the second most reoccurring is the oh God, help me out here, the brainy guy, Brainiac Man.
The Thinker?
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
I'm pretty sure it's the Thinker, the guy that he gets the Hulk blood, but in his brain.
yes, I was gonna say
Yeah,
they teased on him in the first MCU Hulk movie that obviously nothing really came of it. I'm really excited to see Tim Roth back. I just like
yeah,
him as an
which
actor and I'm
he's in
excited for
human
him
form in
to,
that too.
yeah, well they show him as Abomination at one point in the trailer when he's
Mhm,
in
yeah,
like you see him transforming. So I'm excited for that too. I'm glad that they're kind of not completely throwing away stuff from the Hulk movie because I know it's a lot of people's least favorite MCU movie, but it does have a special place in my heart, and I don't think it's nearly as bad as people chalk it up to be. I think it's
Definitely
plain and
not.
basic. It's definitely plain and basic, but it's not as bad as others say. So, just in response to the CGI, yes, the trailer was rough, but literally from day one, there have been multiple trailers outside of Disney, but even within Disney and the MCU, that are unpolished. It's because that they need something to get out, and then they spend the next several months touching everything up. And this was before they even addressed it, a couple weeks later or a few days later. So everyone I talk to is like, "Oh, hey, Bobo, are you excited for She-Hulk? Man, it looks like shit. Doesn't the CGI looks like shit?" I'm like, that's not what matters to me. If the CGI stays looking the way it does, it's a little disappointing because of Disney's budget, but that's not what's important to me personally. I think that if it's a great story, and I'm just stoked. Like, yeah. So, anything else you have to say?
No, I agree 100%. The story is paramount to anything. And as far as anyone bashing or saying that the show is bad because the CGI doesn't look great, among other things, there's apparently some behind the scenes stuff going on where Marvel or Disney, they they originally had Jen looking kind of like I believe it's Luisa is the muscle sister from Encanto. They had her
Ah.
looking like pretty muscular, and every
Mhm.
time Disney saw it, they're like, "No, she needs to be leaner, leaner, leaner." And so like that's part of why the animation is so rough is because they
Mhm.
didn't have time to refine the hair or anything like that because they're too busy trying to
Right.
get her
The body
body to a point
physique.
where Disney's like, "Yeah, that's sexy and still kind of toned and
Mhm.
muscular."
And again, I'm fine with that. Call sexism if you will, but I think that's kind of because there are moments in the comics where Jen quote unquote hulks out and she gets much beefier and everything like that, and it's similar to the Hulk where if her powers are overdone with her either her emotions or just anything like that, then she tends to get beefier and hulkier. But that's the one thing about Jen that I see more as a contrast to regular Hulk, to Bruce, because with Bruce, all of his abilities and physique as the Hulk come from anger and fear and rage and PTSD and things like that. So it makes sense that, of course, the angrier he gets, the more buff he gets. With Jen, obviously it was a blood transfusion, and originally she, it was a carbon copy. She got angry, she hulked out, that's that. But later as it progressed, I always thought it was, for me, the Hulk brings out what your inner self is. And for Bruce, because he's such a broken person in the comics, the Hulk brings out that rage, that pain, that hatred. But for Jen, it's kind of like she becomes her ideal self. And again, in some of the comic storylines, it's her coming to terms with, hey, She Hulk is great, and I'm so happy that She Hulk is who you wanted to be, but you have to remember that Jennifer Walters is awesome too. Um, if there's anything else you want to say, otherwise I can just do my fast and furious point by points.
I do have a couple quick things. Again, if there's one thing I will bash in this trailer, it is the final shot of it where we see Jen presumably carrying her date to the bedroom to go have some.
Oh, no, 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 no. Mm-mm.
No, there's nothing wrong with that moment. It's the guy that's getting carried. Like that's some uncanny valley. I don't know what to do with my hands kind of shit. Like his arm is locked. Like have you ever been
Uh,
carried? Have you ever been fireman carried or anything like that? Like you don't just leave your arm like stiff there. Like you wrap your arms around the person's neck or you do something like that.
I don't
That
know. It's
it
not
it
that
just
bad.
it looked really unnatural and uncanny valley. Like he's clearly just on like a wire system. He's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. So like it bothered me. That took me out of it because like again you don't want him to. Whatever. I don't care. You can emasculate him. Who gives a shit? Just because he's a big muscular guy, he's about to go get dominated and stepped on by She-Hulk.
Hell
Which I
yeah.
mean, yeah, dream come true.
Step on me, green mommy.
So, but like again, like who cares if he's maybe a little bit more feminine in that moment? Because again, he's not the lead dog in that role. So let him
Right,
do
right.
a few more things that kind of give Jen that ego boost, like that it
Yes.
doesn't matter. But he's just in there with his arm kind of tucked and
Yeah. I'm rewatching that one section. I kind of see what you mean. It's not as bad as you're making it out to be, but
no,
yeah,
it's
it's a
totally
little
me being a
stiff. I
nitpick.
see. Yeah.
It's just an uncanny valley thing that makes me go, he's on a pulley. So like
Yeah. Yeah.
the director couldn't just say like do something with your hands.
Right, right.
Yeah, so like
Yeah, I
that's
can.
just a weird uncanny valley complaint that I have. But again,
Mhm.
it's not like I'm going to go worst thing ever because the guy looked like he was being carried by Garfield in the 2005's Garfield movie or something. But like I love the vibe of the trailer. The CGI, I really don't care as long as the story is engaging. I do want to say real quick, Jamila Jamil is going to be playing Titania,
Mhm.
just to get it out there because again, she is awesome, and I think that's really good casting.
Yeah.
So the only other thing I have is a question for you, Beppo.
Yes.
Now that we are getting multiple Hulks, where do you think we draw the line at too many Hulks?
Too many cooks. Ooh, too many cooks. Hmm. So I think Marvel's going a little crazy, especially with multiverse stuff and bringing a lot of characters in. I feel like it would probably be a good idea for the time being to just have the two. Oh, and didn't the actor for General Ross just pass away?
William Hurt just died, yeah, not too
Yes.
long ago, which I think that'll lead into a little bit of a small rewrite in the MCU because I think we are building towards like a Dark Avengers kind of thing. So I think that we'll get the Thunderbolts, which will be the UN or US government sanctioned Avengers team, and they'll
Yeah.
nickname them the Thunderbolts after Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah. Because I was going to say initially that later on, a good foil, especially with the law, and like you said, maybe the Accords finally being brought up for the first time in a while,
In a
it'd be
significant way. They mention
interesting.
them every now and then in
Yeah.
passing as like a little plot
Yeah.
point, like, oh,
Yeah.
the Accords won't let you do that. But then we're not going to
Yeah.
care about it.
But it would be interesting to see them bring Red Hulk as a foil, but ideally I would like to keep it at just two. Now, with Marvel kind of phasing people in and out and bringing in new versions of, like kind of like
Captain
the
America.
rookies. Yeah, like the rookies from the original build up are now going to be the stars. It wouldn't surprise me if at one point they bring in Amadeus Cho, and I would be okay with that. Amadeus isn't my favorite character in the world, but I definitely do not dislike him. But I could, I could unfortunately see maybe Marvel taking it a little too far. I personally would be cool calling it with Bruce and Jen, just keeping it there. Bring in more of the villains, because there
Mhm.
are like Puppet Master and the Thinker and. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. And to be fair, with my personal preference versus what I think would work for the MCU, that's why I'm not on the consultant team for Marvel, if that makes any sense. Putting it out there, I do not like Red She-Hulk. I'm green all the way, baby. I don't care about Red She-Hulk. So just saying. But it wouldn't surprise me if maybe in like a season 2 of She-Hulk or a movie they bring in Red She-Hulk, like, oh my god, my old love interest, now she's a Hulk too.
The multiple Hulks just always start feeling a bit too cliched. I
Yeah.
think I only read one story with Red She-Hulk. I think that was I don't even remember when that was.
Hmm.
I think that was back in like the Avengers versus X-Men days back in like 2012, which holy crap, that event's 10 years old already.
Yeah, don't
Um,
remind me.
I know maybe it was when Amadeus Cho took over as Hulk. Like I think Betty and Bruce were having a picnic or something by a river, and something happened, and Betty's like, "I gotta go," and he's like, "Oh, I miss those days." And then she hulks out, and he's left to finish the picnic by himself.
Yeah, yeah. So, I'm just going to, because I have talked to some people and they've brought up like, well, this doesn't make any sense, and I'm gonna slam down some cold hard Beppo facts. Disclaimer, these are fully opinions and what little knowledge I have remaining in my 2 brain cells of comic books, not necessarily 100% factual opinions. That said,
A factual opinion, huh?
yes, a factual opinion. One, I had somebody say, well, when she's in the chamber and Bruce is telling her that she needs to let out the Hulk with rage and anger, I thought the whole point of She-Hulk was that she was in control of it. Okay, counterpoint. One, originally it was due to stress and anger. Two, she could be technically having trouble figuring out how to turn into She-Hulk. And of course, with Bruce, the only way he originally knew was, okay, through stress and anger and stuff like that. That's why he puts her in a death chamber. But I think I can even see there being a comedic moment of her figuring out she can do it at will and being like, you put me through that when I could do it by myself all along. So poo-poo on that. I don't think that's what they're going to keep it as, obviously, because if it was through stress and anger, then she wouldn't just be confident herself. She would be affected by that mood-wise, you know? I can also see maybe her having troubles controlling it, or kind of a similar aspect to when we saw Turning Red, and they were like, oh, if you transform into the panda, it's going to be harder and harder to turn back. Well, that's not even the case, but maybe with Jen, she starts having issues with transformations in some sort of way. Fun fact, in the original She-Hulk run, when she wasn't able to control her transformations through anything except for rage, it was Morbius that came up with the serum to help her control her inner Hulk. I'm really hoping that there's not going to be any morbing out in the She-Hulk series. Jared Leto
Oh,
can stay
it's Morbin
far away
time.
from that. It's Morbin time. Ooh, so I'm thinking that if there are issues, more than likely Bruce will figure it out. And who knows, maybe there will be a side character that comes in. Hey, maybe we have Amadeus Cho in the background. Not as a Hulk, but as a side character in a lab or something. I'm fast forwarding through the trailer just to make sure that I'm not missing anything.
Yeah, we still haven't even seen Hulk's buddy. What the heck is his name?
Rick. Oh my god, why am I blanking?
Rick.
Oh god.
What's Rick? Rick what? Rick Jones.
Yes, I had to search it too. Yes,
it's such a generic last name. It's not like your typical Marvel name.
I wanted to keep saying Ric Flair, and that's a wrestler. And I'm like, that's not it. Woo! That's all that I could think of. Yeah, it would be interesting to finally see them bring in Rick. That's kind of his buddy in crime, if you will.
Yeah, it's his Jimmy Olsen.
Exactly. I already brought up some of the stuff regarding the law firm, and you did too as well, because that was the same stuff I was thinking, was either that this is before she's She-Hulk and they want her to do it because she has connections to Bruce and they just don't want to put too much liability on them, and she's the newbie lawyer, so let's just throw it at the newbie, because in that way, if the superhero department goes down, they have a scapegoat and can toss her out. Or maybe she gets the offer because she transforms into She-Hulk and they're like, sure, okay, cool, you're getting that. And of course it sounds like, well, I don't want this press attention as a giant green woman. And throughout the series she becomes more and more confident, clearly, because she's taking compliments and just beautiful and sexy. So I'm all for that. Also, a side note, I never had any kind of perfect casting choice for She-Hulk because that was just so difficult for me to picture. But Tatiana, oh god, what's her last name? It's like
Milani or something?
Milani, yeah, Milani. I think she's a fantastic pick. I think she's adorable. I think she's beautiful. And
we were both kind of right. Tatiana Maslany.
Okay, thank you. She is an absolutely fucking fantastic actress. And in regards to the final scene, the one thing that I really appreciate with them bringing She-Hulk into it is she's not confident. You can tell she's bringing her confidence in just through the trailer and through the series, but She-Hulk has always been a promiscuous woman, and I love that about her because she doesn't wear it as as a badge of shame, or anything like that. She's a beautiful lady. She's a billion feet tall and green, and she could step on me all day. But the one thing that I love about her is the fact that she's not shy about it. She's one of the few superheroes out there that shows her face. But like, at least in comics, she shows her face. Everybody knows who she is. They know Jennifer Walters is She-Hulk. And she's not ashamed to be like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll have a hookup. Like, that's totally fine. I think the only hookup she ever regretted was Juggernaut, and they quote unquote retcon that. But whatever. I think it's funny, and sometimes one night stands are regrettable. And I think that's an example of one. But the scene at the very end, of course, where the guy is just sweet talking her, and she's just like, oh. Like, she's totally in the mood. Like, you can tell she is like, wow, okay, this didn't happen when I was just in law school. Okay, I can see. All right, I see where this is going. And of course, regardless of the awkwardness of the clear, being carried by a rig as opposed to a giant green woman, I absolutely love that scene. I'm glad that they are keeping the most wonderful sides about her that I loved growing up, and I hope that other people love seeing too. And fuck all you fucking assholes. It's the same people who are like, Star Wars shouldn't do this and that. Everybody going, oh yeah, the Shrek movie looks good, or my favorite one are the guys going, man, when is Marvel gonna just stop doing gender swap characters? It's like, bitch, this character has existed since like the 80s. Like,
she's at least 40 years old at this point.
Yes. Like, you need to chill. You need to step back. And not only that, but that's one reason I like her, is because unlike a lot of characters that do feel like just this character but with boobs, she is such a unique character. That's why for most comic book fans and comic book readers, Jen is absolutely adored. Because she's funny, she's sexy, she does what she wants, she's quippy. And for those who didn't know, she was the original fourth wall breaker before Deadpool even existed. She was breaking the fourth wall. In her own series, and when she was on the Fantastic Four series, there's a hilarious part where she turns to the camera, she's like, hey guys, I'm gonna have to stop talking to you for a while because Reed thinks I'm insane. Like, it's incredible, and they toned back on that a lot, which I understand. You have Deadpool now, and he kind of takes it to the 11th power out of a possible 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, I stand by this trailer. I stand by the actors and actresses I have seen so far. Obviously, anything can happen. I'm not going to defend something if it is a terrible decision. And I even defend the CGI because I can clearly tell that it is still being polished. I highly doubt this is what it's going to look like come release day. And even if it does, I don't care, as long as the acting, the story, the humor, the charm is there, then she can look like a PS3 video game character for all I care.
Amen.
So, yes. So Josh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I'm not even kidding. I have been a She-Hulk fan since I was around 2 years old. I have been in love with her, and I have been begging for this outside of a very weird movie that came out with a wrestler named Chyna that I don't want to talk about, because I might have thought that, hey, there was a She-Hulk movie, and found out the hard way that it's not exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Whoops.
Oh, early days of internet. But yeah, I've sung my praises. If I sat here and rewatch a trailer 100 times, I'm sure I could come up with more to say, but we have lives to live.
And beds to get into, because it is
very
late.
much beds to get into, yes. But there you go, you got your content.
I appreciate you allowing me to use you for content, because I don't know that. I know Matt has a lot of knowledge towards the She-Hulk comics, but I don't know that he has the passion that you do, which is why I wanted you to come on and even just talk about the trailer. And then as we get to the end of the series, we always do series recaps. We don't go week by week or like midweek or anything
Yes,
like
you can
that.
count on me there.
I feel like these are stretched out movies. So like, I feel like taking them in as a whole is better than, well, what do you think this week? Let's project out. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
Like you got to take it as a whole and look at
Mhm.
it with the hindsight. I don't think these are the kind of shows that, even though they release week to week, I think they are meant to be taken in as a whole, but they want you to be talking about them. So that's why they stretch it out.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And so many times, especially for example, when I was watching WandaVision week to week, I would see people online with their theories, but also being like, well, this is a plot hole and this doesn't make sense. But then by the next episode or by the end of the series, when things unravel, all of it's explained. So it's like, how can you say there's a plot hole when you don't have the full story? Like, wait for it
Because
to
the
conclude.
internet.
Yeah, because the internet. They like to
And
do
it
their
doesn't line up with
theories
my
and
fan theory, therefore it's the worst thing ever.
yup, sounds about right.
Didn't even do Mephisto.
What the fuff?
Why isn't Jamila Jamil Mephisto? She's perfect for the role of Mephisto. Mephisto confirmed.
Mephisto confirmed, guys. We got it. We got it. Like, guys, chill. I'm assuming we'll get Mephisto eventually. In fact, maybe if Marvel ever decides to wrap up the MCU, that would be a great villain to kind of be the new big bad. But yeah, okay.
Mephisto would be
I will.
interesting, but yeah, now we're just rambling on because we're tired.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we'll wrap it up there. Beppo, thank you again so much for being on here. Would you like to share any of your socials?
I am not super active on social media, but I do have my Twitter. It's just twitter.com/Beppo, Bepbo, which I'll be tagged on anyway, so I mean, just click the link. I lovingly do the artwork for T-Smack, even though I have fallen behind a lot recently. Thanks catching COVID and other life problems. But yeah, I am very happy to be back in the co-host seat with you, Josh. Thank you again for letting me pour my heart out.
It is always a pleasure to have you on, and you always have a metaphorical seat next to me whenever you want it.
Sweet. Well, okay, 100% you can count me in for when She-Hulk concludes. So I will be
Definitely.
there. I will end the episode and I will walk over to my computer and I will scream at you, Josh, let's go. Let's go.
There is a group thing that I want to do with a live a stream. I have this really bad Power Rangers game that is 4-player co-op. It's trying to be Castle Crashers or the Scott Pilgrim game,
Right.
but it's Power Rangers, which again, if you watch the trailer, like that looks like it could be good. And then you play it and it's really basic and it's super short. So I think that would be a really fun stream to get like 3 other Talking Smack people, bring their Xbox controllers over, and we just try and like sit down and beat it in like 2 hours.
And just be like,
just
wait,
everyone...
what? What? Wait, what?
That's
What's
it?
going on? Yeah, that's it. That sounds like a plan. Awesome sauce.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. I just got to figure out how to get that properly set up.
Sure.
But other than that, you can find me on Twitter at Josh_Scar. Scar spelled SKAAR. You can follow the podcast at Talking Smack Pod. You can email us at tsmackpod@gmail.com if you want to share your thoughts on anything we review or that you think we might be reviewing. If you want to suggest something, if you want to get in contact with us for certain things. We are going to be cooling it on guests for a little bit because I am going to be starting a job transition soon. So I'm actually going to be on the road for some of these recording sessions.
Ooh.
And I don't know that my computer will be able to handle hotel Wi-Fi with 3 people streaming in for a recording session. So I am going to cool it on guests for a little bit while I get that figured out and I settle into a new role. But I will try to keep content coming as it is, but we will be taking a 1-week break before episode 50 comes out because I'll be taking a road trip and I don't have an episode canned. But that tangent over, please like, subscribe, review. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, and other podcast players. And I believe that is it. Oh, please leave reviews. Reviews help us with exposure. If you like what we do,
Yes.
if you like what we're saying, if you don't like what we're saying, you can leave a bad review too, but at least leave feedback. I appreciate feedback more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure. For sure. Let us know what else you want us to talk about? And if it's pretty swell, maybe we'll talk about it.
And then we are still taking donations for the National Kidney Foundation that we're doing. We're partnering with the Voluntary Input podcast hosted by Leo, friend of the show. And the link to donate will be in that description. Last I saw, we had a goal of $1,000 and we were at about $390. So we're doing pretty good, but
Awesome.
we've got the rest of the month to get to that $1,000 goal. And that
Yes.
all goes towards cancer research. So no one sees a dime of it other than PayPal, who is required through the foundation.
Mhm.
So they get their cut, and then the rest goes to the National Kidney Foundation.
Yes.
So the link is in the description. Again, you can find Beppo. We'll have her stuff linked. And thank you again for listening. Everyone, take care.
Take care. Please, August, come right now.
Watch Star Trek.
No.
Autocorrect has been insane lately.
Dude, okay, so side tangent, but my phone keeps autocorrecting can, C-A-N, to all capital letters CNA, like a nursing CNA or something like that. And I have never, ever once on my phone ever intentionally wrote CNA for anything. And I'm like, okay, well, why? Why are you doing this to me? I'll be like, well, I can see if I can get it to work, and I'll be like, I can CNA get it to work, and I'm like, stop this madness. Okay, sorry.
No,
Autocorrect.
it's absolutely fine. Like my guys at the Lords of Swine, they know it seems like whenever the Lords of Swine and we interact online, either via Twitter or something, like autocorrect will always, without fail, screw something up, and it's so awful.
Do you know how many times I look like an idiot when I'm on my phone or Messenger or Discord? And I'm like, man, I want these people to at least think that I have more than a single brain cell and I can spell, but my phone does not help at all.
Yeah, so like my wife texted me earlier today and said she got dessert for the girls because she's getting strawberries. I don't like strawberries, so she's gonna make strawberry shortcake. And so I was like, oh, lucky them. But my phone changed lucky them. As soon as I finished swiping them, it went lick then. What the hell does that even mean? How does lick then, as in like a time and play or like a time, make more sense than lucky them?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Like context
that's
matters.
incredible.
Swipe text and autocorrect.
Right. Oh, God.